how do we get those conditions that people have no alternative, can't do surgery, can't go this way, can't go that way, and they're just basically stuck, and they think they're stuck to say, I can't heal from this condition.
Welcome to the Table Talk podcast, where we get real, meeting with industry professionals and experts in the chiropractic world, talking about the newest and latest, how to scale your practice, the struggles that we all face in practice, and how you can take your practice to the next level.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. So I have with us today a very special guest. We've got a lot in common. We both enjoy hunting and trucks. Yes. And so we are kindred spirits. This is Dr. Curtis Martin. Dr. Martin is a Western States graduate. He's been in practice for 26 years. Three practices in Northern California, Martin Family Chiropractic Centers. And the newest venture that you've gotten into is Align Health Practice Group. Dr. Martin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And I definitely have lots of information to share and hopefully some motivational for some of your listeners to really strive for their true purpose on this planet. So that's what it's all about, right? To really realize that and develop it and be of great service. So I could definitely tell you my story of how I got to that point too.
Yeah. And that's, the thing that I love about doing this is that I think we as chiropractors are also mission, vision, purpose driven and focused. And I think that is what is going to make the biggest dent in the healthcare space as far as what we're doing to get people off of drugs and avoiding surgeries and doing the things, the reason why we became chiropractors, but to spread that to the masses. And, that's what I'm doing. And I know that that's what you're doing, but I won't steal your thunder. I welcome and share with us what, I want to hear your story as far as, your journey in chiropractic, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the in between. So.
Sure. Well, I can definitely start it. It started off in humble beginnings. So I grew up originally. So I'm both American and Canadian, but I started my early hunting days, but also my early education days in Vancouver Island in British Columbia. Beautiful place to grow up, incredible people, environment, hunting and fishing is just, since I was 5 years old, I was just, nothing made me happier than trucking around out in the wilderness and, just enjoying this beautiful land up here. And it was actually chiropractic. I got the calling when I was a young boy. To go through, it happened in sequences. Like I can tell you the long version or the short version, but I think because of time, the short version is my dad was saved from back surgery when I was like 5 years old, and to the point where the surgery was just going to try to get him to walk again, let alone thrive. It was just like, that was it. And chiropractic changed his life and saved him from back surgery. And I remember when I was growing up, I was 15 years old and my dad's back was sore because, just like with chronic lower backs, it has flare-ups because of stress and lifting the heavy box. And so I remember, going to get to a chiropractor, and my dad couldn't drive because his back was really sore. So we decided to take a Greyhound bus. And so I was beside him in a Greyhound bus. We had to travel because we lived in a remote part of northern British Columbia, like 4 hours. Wow. And so you could, every little bump, I remember watching my dad just cringe, like when you're in back pain, it's like every little bump, and I remember watching him. My dad, very few times I've ever seen him cry. And it's like, so if you're not around that as a young boy to see your father, your hero, cry, it's like, oh, and all of a sudden he gets to a town and he goes, I can't take it any longer. I'm not going to be able to get to the chiropractor. We got to go to the hospital. And I remember we went to Comox Hospital in Vancouver Island, and he was laying on a gurney. And if you've never been in a hospital as a young boy or 15 years old, I got to tell you, if you ever want motivation right now to become exponential servant, go walk around the hospital and get freaked out and go, you never want to be there. And I know there's a time and place for everything. And thank goodness they are there for situations like this. But as far as to truly get your health back and to really see people suffer and really see people walk around in pain and people, they look like they're just ready to go see the big guy, but they're just not there yet. It's shocking. That's not motivation to do our service at another level. It's like, I challenge you to go do that, especially if you go watch the orthopedic ward and go see people that just had a surgery, and they're out on medication, just crazy. So my dad's laying on a gurney, and they got some morphine in him. And I remember a tear came down my dad's eye, which I started crying, because when you see your hero cry, you're like, I started crying too. And he says, Curtis, it's going to be okay. I'm going to get through this. Get through this episode. I'll get to the chiropractor who's going to help. And so anyway, he gave me, because he says, I'm not going to be able to, you're going to go stay with your grandma and she's going to come see you, and all that. And I remember walking through the hospital, and I went into the cafeteria, and I can visualize the hospital, and it was cold, and it was walking around. And I remember I sat in this hospital cafeteria, looked around, and I think I got like an orange juice or an apple juice. I remember sitting there and going, I can't believe there's no one in this entire place that can help my dad besides giving him medication. Even at 15, it just didn't make sense to me. And I was like, why isn't there a chiropractor in the hospital? And at that point, I remember bowing my head, praying to God, and said, God, make me the chiropractor. I wish I had the power and the knowledge to help my father. And I remember that was the time that just basically, he heard my prayers. And I got to tell you want to hear about struggles going through school, when someone would rather be hunting than sitting in the classroom. Someone would be out driving a car. Someone would rather playing hockey than in the classroom. My grades weren't that great. I shouldn't have got into chiropractic, but I had a purpose, and that purpose was realized. So I remember I sacrificed a lot, did whatever it took to claw my way, figure out how to become a good student, become a chiropractor, with the pure intention of just changing the planet. And I was like, you know what? I just want to get my hands. And it was like, even from the start, it wasn't even, someone didn't challenge me. It wasn't like a coach, like my hockey coach. It was like, I just had it in my hands. I'm going to get as many people as I possibly can from my hands to touch them and to change their life. And then after that, once you start seeing changes and miracles and people avoiding surgeries, I was hooked. And, especially things that they said were true miracles, like when couples came in and said, we can't have children. We can't have children. We've been trying. They both came under care. And when they come in with tears in their eyes because they're pregnant, have 1, 2, 3 kids, I've had those miracles happen on a regular. And that's why when you're truly on purpose, there's not enough new patients. There's just as many as you can get under your care. And that's why I started my clinics from one office, from one patient, to a clinic that was overflowing into 2 clinics, overflowing into 3 clinics. And, that's how I grew it, from one patient. And I was lucky to meet a good mentor and coach that drove me to really clinical excellence, which is in my heart. I don't want to do an okay job for someone. I want to do the best job.
Yep.
And that instilled with me a work ethic, which ultimately changed my world when all of a sudden I was hurt in an injury in 2016, and in the hospital, laying in bed myself. Couldn't get out of bed with a lower back injury, consequently enough, same as my dad. And that's why I went into stem cell research. And that's what found shockwave therapy and soft wave and all the different biohacks. And getting a different mentor, Dr. Daniel Pomp. I remember him sitting there, and we were just praying one time. He says, Curtis, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know if I could see the same 100 people in a day because of my back, but I said, I don't know if I should retire or not. And we prayed, and it came to me just clear as a bell. Said, you want to be an exponential service. It's not in your DNA. You weren't put on this planet to be so help. You wanted to be of exponential service. So that came in clear. And then all my success and practice and all the practice management, coaching all these guys formally through chiropractic for years, because I was one of the coaching program star students. They asked me to be a senior consultant. So I love coaching. I love teaching. And then I looked at Softwave and I go, there's no protocols. There's no implementation. There's no principles of cellular healing. I'm like, I need to take that to the world. I want people not to have 50% of people getting well and 50. If there's 10 people that come in, I want all 10 people to get well. If there's 100 people, my odds are I want 100 people to get well. 99 is just not okay with me. So clinical excellence is like, well, how do we get every person well? And I'll answer that question, because I know the question you're going to ask, Dr. Kendall, and it's like, what are you working on? I'm going to answer that question, because there is that small percentage. And I'm like, I want to help everybody, because it's because if we don't help them, who's going to help?
Who's going to? And it's funny, because I was having a conversation with one of my business partners earlier today, and he was asking me about my goals, and he said, why are those your goals? And I said, because I want to help as many chiropractors be as successful as possible, to serve as many people as possible, because that's how I can have the greatest impact in the world from the skill set that God has blessed me with. And I think that, you know, having that sort of a mission and vision it's hard. It's not easy, but at the same time, it's so worthwhile. I mean, there's good days, there's bad days, there's in between, but I think that you know, the good totally outweigh the bad.
Yeah.
But I want to go back. So we're at Western States. You said my grades were not good enough to get me there. How was the school experience for you?
I got to tell you, so to get to the undergraduate grades is really what I was coming through. So I was, I'll just admit, you know, for some of you listening, I was a below C student when I was in high school, and I wasn't picking the top academic electives. I was whatever. What do I need to pass? Because I just wasn't focused on it. But when I started doing that, I was like, there's certain things that kind of came to me. And so one of the things that I've been blessed with is I have a very good memory, a very good photographic memory, which makes it really, really great to be a chiropractor. And so the one thing is, I really got fascinated with anatomy. And I was out of the 100 students that was in my grade in Western States, I was in the top 3 students all the time. I knew everything. And I think that's what serves me well being a soft wave instructor is it's not so much how to rub it around. It's like where to put it on the interference in the body, and then knowing the physiology of how the body works. Fresh blood in, cell signal in the body, waste out. And so my grades started getting better and better. Not that we're all graded. I mean, I just tell you, Doc, I've had no one come and say, hey, what's your grades in chiropractic college? No one's asked me that, but they certainly have asked me, hey, what's this mean? What does that mean? And so being well-spoken about what you do and what your passion is something I would encourage everyone to do. Is like, you can always work on your communication, because great communication will ultimately have a great impact on your person that's listening. And that's sometimes the difference between them going, yes, I want to try, or no, you know what, let me home and think about it. And it usually is communication. So I've worked heavily on, and I got to be honest, when you talk about the good, the bad, I was a shy guy when I had a speech impediment as a kid. I was scared to death to talk in public, right? I was like, you put like 5 people, my face was flush. I'd be sweating armpits. And now it's like in some of the management where I was speaking in front of 500 people, I was like, no big thing. It was great. But you had to overcome that fear. But I certainly wasn't, I had to bring that skill. Rather, I certainly had to overcome some hurdles to become a good communicator.
Growth is definitely on the other side of that. I'll be honest, I was kind of the same way, but I developed that skill through just facing the fear and going beyond it. So I definitely get that. So you came out of Western States. Did you associate? Did you open your own practice?
Yeah.
What did you do?
So I came out of Western States. I started a associateship, not a good associateship, in a sense that just basically an exam doctor and a therapy doc, working 6 days a week. My pay was $1,500 a month, but I didn't really care. I was like, it was like I knew that I was like going through it, so I struggled. I remember the chiropractor says, "You're a great associate. You're gonna be great." I'm retiring, and he says, "I'm closing my practice, so you're on your own." And so at that point, I was like, you know what? It's either sink or swim, right? So I'm like, I'm just gonna start my own practice, and that's how I started. And I struggled at the beginning until I found someone that really just encouraged my philosophy. You know, the power that made the body heals the body, and your body can heal or adapt from anything. And as long as you realize that, like, that's a non-negotiable in my world. Like,
Yep.
it's not up for debate. It's just a non-negotiable. I'm like, you can heal or adapt. I am so confident your body's going to heal or adapt from anything. And I think once I understood that, then after that, it was just like, it was on. It was like a game. I was like, I had to help more people. I'm up early, getting into the office an hour early, and going through struggles. I remember the first 3 years, my wife paid the rent. She was a registered nurse. She paid the rent. I wasn't successful, but I had it here, right?
Yep.
And that led up to here, and that led into here, you know? And so I would encourage everyone to like do more research, get smart here, connect that with your heart, and then do this. I went opposite, but hey, sometimes we're oddballs, right? Sometimes our heart's on our sleeve and we got to lead with our heart. But eventually my heart figured out my mind and then got back in the game of how to do this correctly. And I had some good coaches along the way.
And I think that those two things those are the two things that propelled any success that I saw was mentors that I learned things from, and standing on those shoulders, and getting dipped in the philosophy of
Oh,
above, down, inside out.
so good. Yeah. if you got that in your heart and soul, it's like everything else can be figured out. And that's one of the reasons why I like starting with Alignment Health Practice Group and basically 2 years ago was Softwave and Shockwave. Just I knew it was such a powerful way to, and it meshed well with the philosophy. So my philosophy on how Shockwave and chiropractic, I look at chiropractic releases the innate intelligence for the brain and central nervous system. Then we have Shockwave, which releases the cellular innate intelligence at a smallest scale from the damages and the devastation of subluxation. Combine those together, it's like now we have a way to get the body to heal itself, release innate intelligence, fix the damage of the subluxation interference, and get the body to heal to the best of its possible ability to do. And that's really what it's designed to do. So it's like, for me, if someone is really hardcore subluxation based, and trust me, for 26 years, and still we have corrective care and maintenance is our meat and potatoes, right? Getting central nervous system checked on a regular basis due to stress is what we do for every individual that comes in our office. And we serve thousands, right? Every single week. But when we do that, we also understand that, hey, sometimes damages happen in that knee. Sometimes you're a hockey player and you hurt that back and you got some decay. Well, it's time to heal that up and just really start living life the way that, God truly intended us to live, right?
Yeah.
And great service.
I didn't know that we had hockey in common as well. I'm a hockey guy as well. So
Yeah.
we've got more in common. So you started your first practice, struggled the first few years, we started seeing success. So I'm curious what the process was like from going, I never had owned multiple clinics, but what was the process like going from 1 to 2 to 3? What were the things that you learned in that process?
That's a fantastic question. I think the things I learned is really surround your people in your organization with like-minded people. So if you're a passionate person and you're just hard on your sleeve and you're like, you know what, when someone's life changes and that just like, oh man, I like if we were having lunch together, I got to tell you the story. Like you can't help but sharing. And all of a sudden, if you're working with people like, how was your day? Yeah, they decided to get pregnant. Yep, they had pregnancy. Yep. That guy's saved from surgery and there's no passion. So surround yourself with a like side. Because I had some associates that they're good doctors, but we just didn't mesh together and it was like fire and ice. So get personalities that are on your same mission. So one of the things I always say is have your mission statement printed firmly on your wall in all your manuals. Have it constantly repeated, because if those people are behind your mission, then you're on a team. But so many doctors don't even have a mission statement of why they're there, and they wonder why the people aren't supporting their dreams and their idea of envisioning what healthcare could be in their community. And it's because of that mission statement. So I would say the biggest struggle is I was kicking butt and taking names. And then all of a sudden when I had to share that with somebody else and be a teacher, that was tough. So really align yourself with making sure you have proper systems, proper manuals, because if you're not consistent in teaching, not consistent in what you do with patient care, and you don't consistently teach that way, you'll be disappointed, because then that person will be inconsistent in what your vision is. So it's clear communication, clear systems, and then surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And then just understand that if you really want to have 3 offices, it's not all of a sudden that you go poof and you don't talk to these people. It's constant education back and forth. It's constant training. It's constant camaraderie, just like a team would be, just like a hockey team. They don't just all of a sudden it's game time. They're practicing together. They're eating together, having communications together, telling stories together, looking at tape together. All those things is the same thing on a chiropractic team, but everyone has to be expectations, enough time together. So then when it's time to perform, you guys are a unit rather than, one doctor. And I see this all the time, chiropractors, the whole practice is on their shoulders and they're just packing everybody, right? And you go into the office and it's like, there's the owner. You can tell he's buzzing. There's a vibration around him. Everybody else is in the corner.
Yeah.
And it's like, or there's the owner. There's a doctor that's kind of like a watered down version of him. And I'm just saying, you know what? Time's too short to have watered down versions of staff, doctors, healing department, massage therapists, acupuncturists, software. Like incorporate the best of the best, because we only have so many minutes, so many days, so many weeks, so many years. And it's just surround yourself full of a winning team and do something that's a work of art. There's so many things. It's like, what can't be done? I'm like, you should think about what can be done. What could the practice of your dream? Why couldn't it be a hospital? Why couldn't you have a 25,000 square foot multidisciplinary office? Dream big, because there's only one way to dream, right? Otherwise, when you think about just getting by, that's never worked for me. It's not enough. It's not the juice that's worth the squeeze. I just get up in the morning when I'm trying to do something bigger than myself. It's like energy, right? It just comes into you, and it's like you just can't stop, and it's so much fun. And then you take that into your personal life, and you become a better husband, and a better father, and a better friend, and a better son, and a better neighbor. And it's like they say, and I've heard this cliche, but it's true. How you do one thing is truly how you do everything. And so you can either take chiropractic and let that become an epicenter in everything beautiful in your life, which I hope it is, or it can be so consumed full of your office that all you do is workaholic and no one else matters. And that's the part that I see as a tragedy. I see so many good chiropractors. I know one right now going through a divorce. And it breaks my heart. I'm like, how can that be? How can you be such a good servant and all of a sudden not serve the one you love the most? So I incorporate every aspect. People should not be cutting corners. Eat good food, have good relationships, spend time nurturing relationships, go to church, invest in your health, exercise every single day. So important, because if you don't, become out of balance. And that would be probably the worst thing, is having 3 offices, Doc, and be miserable, right?
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest fear, right? Is to have 3 offices, make a ton of money, but be miserable. And so those are some of the things. You got to surround yourself with good people. Pick your good spouse, which hopefully you didn't pick. Hopefully someone blessed you with that person. But everything takes work. And when it's fun to do, it's not work. It's just so much fun. It's nice to be, I spend all my time with my wife. I love hanging out with my wife. We do so many great things. We have so many good conversations. And I think a lot of it has been trained from chiropractic with me. It's like I was just blessed to be successful at it, and then just didn't stop, just kept on advancing. I don't know, hopefully people listen to that and go, you know what? I do got to get in the gym every single day. I do got to take my wife on a date night. I do got to spend some quality time and listen to them and spend some time with the kids. I think it's all important. And now that I'm a grandfather, whoo, it's so much fun.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with all of that you just said anymore. I mean, I've been blessed with my wife, and she is an absolute saint. But it is those, the rhythms and routines of life are the things that really either set you for success or set you for failure. And it's a matter of kind of picking your hard, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we kind of went through that. Now I wanted you to tell me a little bit about what you're doing with the Aligned Health Group, and kind of how that came about.
Yeah, it was an interesting. So like I said, it was like all of us. We got a few bumps in the road, right? I was figuring God has more of a he's more consumed about my purpose than all of a sudden sometimes my comfort. So I went through a bad injury in 2016, and I was in the hospital and came home in a walker and found stem cells. I was like, traditional chiropractic was going to help. And so I got stem cell injections and really just dove into the cellular healing, met Dan Pompa. And within that, that's when I met, Dr. Duro from Softwave. And I remember getting the machine. The first time I used it, it was like 50% pain reduction. And I didn't understand what it was all about. And so I got the machine. I was one of the first guys to get the machine, like around 4.5 years ago. So it was when I think I got machine number 53. If that counts for anything. I think right now they got about 3,000 machines. So I was one of the first guys to get one, so to speak. And I remember looking at that and just, I was always on clinical excellence, right? Like I was taught how to evaluate the nervous system and how I did a 6-component adjustment. I was like, so where's the manuals? Where's the protocols? What's the frequency? What's the dosage? How do you communicate this? All the things that led me into super success with chiropractic. There was none of that. And I was like, where is it? Where's all the data? Where's all the research? And so then I just was like, you know what? I got to figure this out. And so I remember I was, like I said before, I was praying with Dr. Pompa, and he said, you got to be exponential service. And I said, I want to get back into coaching. I want to do something great. And I want to give back to the profession. I want to make this world a better place. And I know who I serve. So as long as it met those 2 criteria, make the world a better place, and I was able to be a good servant, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to figure this out. So I remember I took an erase board, one of those school erase boards. and it was 4 foot by 6 foot. And I wrote all the different pieces of what I did. And I was like, okay. And then I remember having a podcast like this with 3 of my colleagues I knew that said, hey, you're really good at shockwave. You're really killing it in your department. Can you share with you what you do? And I go, sure. And so I did an hour long, like what I do and how to give a good day one and how to give a succinct report of findings that 90% start and how to use the machine properly and different biohacks and what nutritional products and what to tell the patient before and what to tell the patient after pre-treatments, post-treatments. And I do all this stuff and they go, that was fantastic. I go, great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. See ya. And I was like, they're like, wait, stop. And I'm like, we want you to coach us. And I'm like, what do you mean coach you? Well, we want you to, you're a software coach, right? And I'm like, well, no, but I was a coach in the past chiropractically. And I said, I want you to coach. So what does your coaching program look like? How many hours does it do? Can we get all the forms to, just like a formal, like you're working for Amped or, Steve Franson or Level Up, whatever the case may be. It's like, huh. So I was like, sure, I'll coach you. Well, how much you charge? I haven't really figured that out yet. I'll see you next Tuesday at 9 a.m. And that's where I started my alignment house. So I started there 2 years ago. And now just from referrals, just from doing great service with each and every doctor I've done, we've helped so many doctors. We're over 50 plus offices that we're currently coaching, and we're just getting clinical excellence. People are getting better results. They're getting extra 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 referrals per week from Softwave, which doesn't cost them a penny. They're given a clear day one, a clear report of findings, and not just winging it. And the whole staff is understanding what their role is. And that's where it started. That's where it spawned. That's where it came up. And we just been thriving. I just love it. I have my Softwave in the back. I show them how to do the technique to get really good results. Start going outside for some advanced protocols such as hand symptoms, acid reflux, shingles. We have all kinds of protocols for more isolated, advanced, protocols, which is really, that's what gets me all excited. It was not just the musculoskeletal stuff, but when we start getting organs and glands that haven't worked or people that can't move or different organs and glands that are just having low function, we turn them back on. Kind of goes back to our roots, right, Doc? It's like power of the body heals the body. Let's turn that power on and see what happens, right? It's like a C1 adjustment for everybody.
Awesome. I love it. And you can just feel the passion in it. And so I asked this question of everybody, and I pre-framed it for you, so I know it's not a surprise, but what is one thing that you have not figured out that you're working on?
The one thing I think is, and I thought about it when you first said I was going to, ask a question, which we didn't have this till this moment, but keep on thinking about, it's like, how do we get those conditions that people have no alternative, can't do surgery, can't go this way, can't go that way, and they're just basically stuck, and they think they're stuck to say, I can't heal from this condition. And those are the conditions that all of a sudden I get super excited about, because those are the ones, those real oddball, pain syndromes and different things that people suffer with. Those are the ones I get excited. Those are the ones that all of a sudden I'm like, I got to figure out how to help these oddball conditions, because it goes back to my roots of that. I always think I've been given lots of gifts, but if I don't figure it out, then who's going to figure it out? And these people don't have a solution and no one's there to give them 100%, 10% of their mind and their energy. Where are they going to go? And those are the ones that I always get excited, go, how do we figure this out? So literally by having 50 plus offices, I get to see crazy different conditions that come across, and it's fantastic. And it's so exciting to see that. And I guess the next thing I haven't figured out is trying out all the different modalities within shockwave and chiropractic and seeing which other modalities bundle well to just amplify the healing outcome of that patient. And so we're working on all those things. We definitely got a lot of data, but now it's time to crunch that data to come up with real solutions. And when they have those tough cases that people aren't healing, they come to our clinics for solutions. And to me, that just speaks to me to a higher calling. And it's definitely the juice that's worth the squeeze. It's what gets me up in the morning. It gets me on the computer, researching stuff. That's the part is like, we got to figure this out. And if I can be of service to the docs that don't have the time because they're raising their family in the office, I feel like I can be a real service because I can save you 100 hours. You don't have to figure it out.
Yep.
Then I'm truly being of service to you because I can just cut that corner and say, okay, don't do this, go do this. And they go, thanks, doc. That really helped me. And that's where I'm in your court. And I'm truly a coach, and that's why I look just like with a hockey team. Coaches know how to direct a team. And I think every successful person, doctor, healthcare facility, they need a good coach guiding them with their best interests at heart, not trying to cut corners, but also truly trying to make them and their reputation improve in their community. And that's, to me, that just feels warm and fuzzy and yummy.
I love it.
Yeah.
So Doc, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah. So the best way is if you go on to alignmenthealthpracticegroup.com and you have a modality or just want to talk about chiropractic, because I do coach chiropractic offices with different modalities, and also different doctors such as medical offices, nurse practitioners. So not just chiropractic. We do a discovery call. I look and see what you want to achieve. And if I can be of service to you, that I know I have a clear path and a blueprint, if you will, to guide you through that next level, then we talk about what that looks like to take you on as a client. If I don't have a clear path, then I'll direct you on what you need to work on, because I do care about leaving our profession better than I found it. And it's like, even if I can't be of service to you to coach you because maybe it's not a good fit, I'd rather give you things that I see that are very clearly what you should be working on to make yourself better and be a better servant of chiropractic in your community.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Doc, thank you so much for being on today. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for letting me be here. And now we get to talk a few stories behind the camera, right?
Amen to that.
Chiropractic, and also probably some hunting stories.
There you go. We'll see you guys next time.
If you enjoyed this episode of Table Talk, a chiropractic podcast, make sure that you subscribe and check out the links below to our free Facebook group with chiropractic marketing secrets, our free resource guides, and the links to all of the guests that we have here on the show and ways to be able to connect with them. Thanks and God bless.